The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. The diplomatic patience of the African continent has officially run out, and we are now witnessing a massive shift in how neighboring countries deal with South Africans' ongoing xenophobia crisis. For years, the response from regional capitals consisted of polite statements and diplomatic notes expressing concern over the targeting of African immigrants. Those days are over. Following recent aggressive retaliatory measures from nations like Ghana, a new front line of resistance has emerged right on South Africans' doorsteps, and this time it is hitting their economy where it hurts the most. Last week, the vital trade corridor between South Africa and Mozambique became the center of a major geopolitical confrontation. Frustrated youth protesters in Mozambique marched directly to the Rhizona-Cassia border crossing, which represents one of the most critical commercial arteries on the entire continent. Instead of staging a standard demonstration, these protesters physically blocked the passage of commercial cargo, completely halting thousands of South African trucks attempting to cross the border. To be precise, this disruption was driven by grassroots youth groups rather than an official state decree from the government in Maputo. The border remains technically open at the state level, but on the ground, the reality is entirely different. To be precise, this disruption was driven by grassroots youth groups rather than an official state decree from the government in Maputo. The border remains technically open at the state level, but on the ground, the reality is entirely different. When thousands of freight trucks are backed up for miles and drivers are actively turned away based on their nationality or language, the former diplomatic stance matters very little. The streets effectively enforce an economic penalty that regional governments have been too hesitant to implement through official policy, sending a clear warning to Pretoria. This grassroots blockade happened at the exact same time that high-level political talks were taking place. Mozambique's leadership recently traveled to Pretoria to meet with President Cyril Ramaphosa to discuss regional security and economic cooperation, while the heads of states sat in comfortable rooms agreeing to cooperate and echoing the historical bonds of the liberation struggle. Young citizens took matters into their own hands at the border. This dual reality highlights a growing divide between polite top-level diplomacy and the raw frustration brewing among African citizens.
I say that we are very happy because we are in South Africa. You know that South Africa is Mozambique, Mozambique is South Africa. We are brother between two countries and two people. That's why we are here to talk about our future between Mozambique and South Africa. We are here to increase our bilateral relation and cooperation. I'm talking about economic cooperation, commercial cooperation, our trading, because it's very important to develop in South Africa and Mozambique. We are one people, we are brothers. That's why it's very important to be together, to be units, to be closer, because the development of South Africa and development of Mozambique is very, very, very important. That's why we are here to talk about our cooperation, our economic cooperation, our commercial cooperation, and we are here to talk about our relation. In our relation, security and peace is very important. Any country in the world, we don't develop in the country without security and peace. That's why we are here to talk about our security, our peace, and the security and peace of our people. You know that always we was together during apartheid. We fight against apartheid together, and now it's very important to talk about our liberation, our economy, and our development. That's why we're here to talk about our security and our peace now, because now we think that's very important to know that Mozambique is South Africa is Mozambique. Mozambican people and South African people, is very important to be together, to be unit, to be closer, because it's very important to development our two countries, Mozambique and South Africa. We are here to talk about our future. We think that's very important to development agriculture. We want to do many things in digitalization process, industrial process, and we think that's very important to do economic special zone in South Africa and Mozambique, industrial zones in South Africa and Mozambique to development our two countries. We want to work together to do main projects in energy sector. You know that Mozambique we have gas, and we want off-takers, and we think that South Africa is our principal off-taker. That's why the vision of Mr. President Cyril Ramaphosa to increase the capacity of electricity in South Africa is very important to do it together. Now in Mozambique we have our domestic gas. We are building many power plants. One power plant in Temane province in Inhambane. We was together last time, and we think that it's very important to do it together, because you know that gas is something like raw material. With gas, we will build the power plant and transmission line from Mozambique to South Africa to increase our capacity in Mozambique, to industrialize in Mozambique, and to do the same thing in South Africa side. And in South Africa side, it's possible with our gas inside the region to build many power plants and transmission line to other seats in Mozambique and South Africa. That's why we are here to talk about energy sector, agriculture, industrialization, infrastructure, tourism, and many things. That's why we are very happy to be here. And I want to say thanks so much, Mr. President Cyril Ramaphosa. Always we are together. South Africa is Mozambique. Mozambique is South Africa. Our people is brothers. And always I used to say that our borders is like artificial borders. Africa, always we are together, we are brothers. That's why in our borders we have people who have the same language, the same culture, the same surname. We are brothers. That's why we are very happy to be here, and I'm very happy with our presence here. And let's work together to develop Mozambique and South Africa. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
To understand why this specific blockade sent shockwaves through the Southern African business community, you have to look at how heavily South Africa relies on this trade route. The Rezono-Cassia crossing links South Africa massive industrial hub in Quartet directly to the deep water port of Maputo. This corridor is primarily export pipeline for South African minerals, manufactured goods, and agricultural products destined for global market. Squeezing this specific choke point means that South Africa's industrial heartland is temporarily cut off from its closest access to international shipping lanes. Furthermore, the economic dependency between these two nations is deeply intertwined and runs both ways. South Africa does not just export through Mozambique. It relies on its neighbor for survival. Mozambique supplies over 1,000 megawatts of electricity to South African power grid from its major hydroelectric infrastructure. In addition, South African energy giants have poured billions of dollars into Mozambique natural gas field, which feed directly back into South African domestic industries. For decades, hundreds of thousands of Mozambican workers have provided critical labor to keep South African mines and factories running. This deep economic entanglement exposes a massive vulnerability for Pretoria. The relationship has always been framed as a partnership of mutual benefit, but that benefit requires mutual respect. South Africa is now caught in a dangerous structural trap. The government cannot continue appeasing anti-immigrant elements at home without deeply alienating the neighboring countries that supply its power, its gas, and its export routes. Pretoria cannot protect its vital economic lifelines while simultaneously ignoring the violence being inflicted on foreign nationals within its borders. The underlying reality of this entire crisis is that pointing fingers at undocumented African immigrants will never solve the economic failure of South Africa. The deep challenges of regional unemployment and high crime rates are not caused by fellow Africans seeking better life. Yet, because political rhetoric has continuously scapegoated foreign nationals, the frustration has boiled over cross borders. The same group of unemployed, frustrated young people taking their anger out of immigrants inside South Africa is now mirroring the exact same energy on the other side of the border in Mozambique, Nigeria, and Ghana. The core question moving forward is whether regional governments will take charge of this diplomatic confrontation or continue scrambling to manage the actions of their own citizens. The rest of the continent is no longer willing to wait for polite promises. Major regional deadlines are approaching. International summits are on the horizon, and each of these upcoming milestones will force a reckoning. South Africa must choose whether to address the root cause of xenophobic violence or watch its critical economic partnership unravel one border, one mine, and one trade corridor at a time. Pretoria must answer a simple and comfortable question. How long can you treat your African neighbors as an existential threat inside your borders while expecting them to remain compliant economic partners outside of them? Let me know your thoughts on this major development in the comment section. We have also seen that Mozambique has issued an evacuation statement that they want to come and evacuate their citizens because 5 of them reportedly were unalive in South Africa during this. And there are about 800 that's supposed to be taken out, but 300 of them have managed to cross the border for safety. Others are hiding in South Africa. So moving forward, South Africans, we ask you, if doing this to your brothers and sisters will change the economic situation, like Malema asks you, ever since the 300 Ghanaians left South Africa, how many of these jobs and their homes have you occupied? And the leaders in South Africa must start taking actions now because things are no longer easy. Ghana has also issued a travel advisory warning its citizens not to go to South Africa. If we all want to retaliate to South Africans' actions against us, will South Africa be able to survive in the continent of Africa? We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's colonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, Southern Africa, and in Mozambique.